What's going on, guys? This is Restless from VirtualBromance. This is day 40 of 365 games, and in day 40 I'm playing the first game that I ever bought on Steam a few years ago, Uplink. And Uplink is a really cool game. It's a hacking game, which, you know, clearly it's like futuristic, simplified hacking. But when you get later into the game and you have, you know, several programs and countermeasures and things like that are going on, it really comes together and makes you feel like an elite hacker, which is pretty cool. The game is set up in, I guess, kind of an open-ended thing, and what's weird is, now, back when I first bought it, I did finish it, and I finished the storyline, and the storyline, as far as I know, is hidden and missable. I remember the first time I played it, I ended up with the best gear I could get, the highest level programs I could get, a shit ton of money, and it just kept going, and I was like, what? I don't know what's going on. So I started over, I started replaying through it, and I started paying a little bit more attention to some of the stuff that's in the missions, some of the stuff that I guess you have to pay attention and not just do the missions the way you're supposed to do them to get the story out of it. I know that there's like a news network that every time you do a job, you can go to the news network and read about what happened. It's like a press conference or like a news story that'll say, you know, a hacker broke into so-and-so industries and deleted a file or stole a file or something like that. Now, there's a combination of needing to read the story, the news articles. Sometimes you have to do things in a mission that aren't related to the mission, like requirements, like reading a file or go into the logs and read the logs and trace. You know, you'll see that another Uplink hacker has been here, and you trace his route back to him and stuff like that, and it's really cool. And after you finish it, you can continue playing, so the game kind of never ends. I mean, which is pretty cool. The hacking itself, like I said, it's like futuristic, simplified. I mean, the earlier missions are use a password cracker to crack into a system, go to the file logs or the file server and just delete a file and then disconnect and you're golden. Or do the same thing and go in and copy a file and disconnect and then send the file to your client. What's kind of cool about it is after you're done with a mission, you could just be done and continue, but eventually the authorities will catch up to you. So what you need to do is you need to, when you're done, go back into systems that you were in and using like log removing or log altering programs cover your tracks so that they can't be traced back to you, which I think is really cool. But they kind of dropped the ball in it because as you can see, the place right there that I always that I'm going into now, as a matter of fact, you're going to see me do this. This place is the only place in the game that you can hack that it will not trace you because it's part of the Uplink network. And see what I'm doing there is I'm just deleting one log and that's it. And as you can see, I've done it a couple times. The way I think that they kind of dropped the ball on this aspect of the game is that you can always start your bouncing around, because you bounce around different locations before you connect to the location you want, so it takes the trace longer to find you. You can always start with this one and just delete the log there if you start that as your first hop. So what that does is the authorities will start in the system that you actually committed the crime and go back through and keep using like the logs to, you know, you were connected to this and then you were routed to this, and they follow that all the way back to you. But if you go into the internet, which is the first one, like a, you know, as you can see, I just clicked on it again to start a new or a new hop. You delete that one, then they'll get all the way back to that one, and then your trail is gone. So as long as you do that after every mission, and you don't even have to do it every mission, just every other couple missions or whatever, as long as you don't use the wait feature, they'll never find you. And I think they kind of dropped the ball on that, because you can hop as many times as you want, as long as you don't, try to hop to the same place twice, and that makes your trace time higher and higher and higher. So what they should have done, in my opinion, to balance that, is make it so that if you use 10 hops, then maybe you need to go into 4 or 5 different systems and cover your tracks instead of just the one at the end. And I think that would have made it a little more difficult, and there would be a little bit more tension to try and get that stuff done before you're traced. But you can't complain. At least they have the mechanic in there, which I think is really cool. In any case, you can upgrade your gateway computer, and they call it a gateway because what it is it's a computer that you buy from the Uplink company that you're a part of, and they put it in a hidden, secure location that has nowhere near your location. And what you do is you remotely access into it to do all this hacking, so that if the authorities do ever trace you all the way back to that location, there's nothing that will incriminate you. And they don't keep your name on file or anything like that. They ask you, when you start the game up, go through like a registration process, which I think is pretty cool. And they even say that they don't want your real name, they just want your handle. They don't want any other information about you. They ask you for a handle and a password, and then to repeat your password, and that's it. So that's pretty cool. And you can upgrade your gateway. You can, different gateways that you buy have more slots for things. Like the one you start out with only has 1 CPU, but you can buy one that has multiple CPUs or higher bandwidth or higher memory. And then when you buy a better gateway, you can go into the hardware section and upgrade your hardware within that gateway. Anytime you buy a new gateway, all your hardware and your programs are moved over to it. So I think it's pretty cool. And you have to wait 24 in-game hours after you buy a new gateway for them to set it up. And then when they set it up, they'll send you an email, and you have to log out. So basically you actually log out of the game and then back in, and then you get another email saying that everything's set up, which I think is also pretty cool. I mean, that's the only game I know of that requires you to actually log out and then log back into the game for something to happen. So there's that. There's the programs that you can buy. You can buy bigger or better versions of them, which generally take up more space on your hard drive, so you need to upgrade your hard drive and stuff like that. So it's a really customizable game. Some of the missions later in the game require crazy amounts of different programs to use all at once, like when you're bypassing firewalls or proxy servers, or the most complicated thing in the game is to hack into a LAN and go through the computers on the LAN and do stuff, and I think that's pretty cool. So the game is really fun. Like I said, I did finish it many years ago, and if you're cool with a game that's essentially text-based, I mean, obviously there's graphics, but it's essentially a text-based point and click. If you're into games like that, go ahead and check it out. I mean, there's really cool missions like the one I'm doing here, where I hacked into an academic database and found a certain person's file and gave him a different credential, another degree, and I think it was pretty cool. And then right now I'm going back into internet and covering my tracks. But anyway, if you're into this game, or if you're into this video, go ahead and rate, comment, like, and subscribe. Again, this is day 40 of 365 games. I'm Restless. This is Uplink, and I will see you guys tomorrow.